Well, it's official. Dr. Carla is in the house, flying all the way from the States, and it's actually really good to finally have you on Australian soil. Welcome to Sydney. How you doing?
Doing amazing. I've been in Melbourne. It's been awesome, and now traveling to Sydney. Just so grateful to be here and be with you today.
Amazing.
For sure.
I love it. It's 12 months ago we saw each other in LA when we had our event, so it's kind of nice to have. It's kind of nice to have some of you guys come fly over to this side of the world, because I feel like I'm always on the plane flying. But today we're going to hang out, talk all things teen coaching, see where you're at with business. I'm sure we'll talk about the education system, and we feed off each other really, really well. So I'm sure things will pop up and we might go down a bit of a rabbit hole too. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I love that.
Well, you know, we're kind of I don't know if we're the misfits, call it, in the education system, but you and I come from a teaching career, and we left teaching to pursue the coaching space. So I'd like to take it back day one-ish, where before you came across Teen Coach Academy, before you came across me, kind of take me down memory lane. How was life for Carla? How was your career? Let's paint that.
Yeah, so way back when, I was a teacher, assistant principal, and as an assistant principal, I was like, I feel like there's more for me. I don't know what it is. I really feel like I want to do my own thing, run my own business. I'm not sure what that looks like, but I want to use my background. I have a doctorate, so it was not something that I wanted to move away from. And I kept thinking about it, and I would like counsel kids and talk to kids, but I didn't really know what coaching was. And then I found out what coaching was because I got a coach or two. And then I was like, well, what about coaching teens? Like, look at what I'm learning. What if I could teach them earlier? Instead of learning it at 40, they learn it at 14. So essentially, and I feel like I've told this to you before, I thought I invented teen coaching because I was like, oh my gosh, no one ever thought of this before. Like, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my idea. And then I ended up getting social media because I didn't have social media at that point, and connected with you somehow on Facebook. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person thought of this already. So I was like, wait a minute. So I started listening, watching videos, connecting, messaging, and kind of like the rest is history. I just jumped right in and had my business coach.
So good. It's a funny story because we're going to dive down the business side of things. And then of course you've got the art of coaching teens, and then you have the business side, which is a whole different gig altogether. So when you first came across, whether that was myself or the academy, did you have any reservations around coaching, jumping into business? Because fair to say, it is a big leap leaving teaching.
I had a couple coaches that were great. One was really good. One was a little bit too advanced for me at the time. So I was like kind of dipping my feet in with you a little, and that. So I was warm, but I was getting there. But I finally just like took the plunge, and I think I went to one of your challenges. And then I kind of was like, okay, if I'm ever going to work with anyone, it's going to be this person. It just was a great fit. It worked perfectly for me, for what my goals were. And I had really no idea. I feel like my life is always kind of unexpected in a way, like not sure what's going to happen next. As far as everybody's lives are, I guess you can say that. 100%, and so then took me a long time to take the plunge, like monetarily, and as well as like leaving my 9-to-5. That was all mindset. And that began prior to meeting you, and then was just accelerated with meeting you, because you were teaching me business things that I wasn't ready for yet. And then I was kind of like, oh no, I can I do this? Can I do this? But then I realized like my purpose at the beginning was the mindset piece. So as you were teaching me the business things, I picked up some of them. But really what I was getting from you at the beginning was the mindset piece of 100%. How to shift out of a 9-to-5 into my own business.
I think that's really important, because when it comes to what we do, it's very similar, safe to say, in the classroom. And so when people see teen coaching, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to coach. To some extent, yes, coaching is a different skill set to teaching. But naturally, we've been doing this for so long with kids that we have been coaching. We just haven't called it teen coaching. So coming in, how did you transfer your skill sets, coming across parents, coming across teenagers? What was similar to the classroom and what you're already doing in the classroom?
I think what was similar was like holding space for families. So at that time, I was an assistant principal, and it would be someone got in trouble, someone was having anxiety, whatever the situation that came across my desk was. And I basically am transferring, like listening to parents, asking them questions, same with teens, and just trying to really get to the root cause of what was going on. So I felt like in my position, I was able to do this to some extent, but didn't have the time or the bandwidth to really like dig down into it with families. So that's where the coaching piece came in. So I might have been like surface coaching, let's say, and it wasn't called coaching. And now it's like truly coaching and getting, to the root cause of limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I love
sure.
that. Love that. As coaches, for sure, limiting beliefs, exploring. I always say, let's explore the resistance. As long as you look to remove resistance in coaching sessions, you're not there to solve their life story in one session, of course, right? That's too much pressure on us as teen coaches. You're looking to just remove resistance with the parents, with the teenagers. It's a tough gig. I think a lot of people come in and they're like, coaching, it looks very attractive online. I think maybe we're both partly at fault with that because we do make it look quite fun and easy. The reality is this is a tough gig. There's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, carrying parents and teenagers with sensitive topics and issues. What tends to show up in your world now with parents and teenagers?
Everything from grades and lack of motivation to wanting to harm themselves to wanting to date and being like unsure if they like girls or boys or whatever it might be. So, I mean, there's just the whole gambit of everything. And, oftentimes I have to remember, like, I am qualified for this because there's so many things thrown at you that you're like, hold on, wait a minute. But then I just go back to, knowing that like what I'm doing is in the best interest of the kids, in the best interest of parents. And like you said, removing that resistance. No, I don't know that I'm going to be able to solve your problem. And that's like, frankly, not what I'm here for. I'm here to guide you to solve it yourself.
100%.
So yeah, it is a lot of responsibility and it's very rewarding. So that's the hard part is kind of like you work through that because when they on the other side how much stronger and how much how they're going to thrive after spending time with us.
Yeah, it's so good. It's something that's having a particular heart for this. I always say it in TCA. I'm not here to teach you to be passionate about working with kids. You're either in it for the right reasons, or this gig in this industry is just going to eat you up alive. And so I can tell from you're very, very much in alignment with the niche. You'd be doing this whether it was called teen coaching or not, with schools and with families. I'd like to know, before we get into the business side of things, what have you learned about yourself throughout the journey with helping parents, helping teenagers from all walks of life?
Like everything. I mean, it's literally, I feel as if like we're our best client. So, as a teenager, I needed the emotional support. And what am I doing now? Coaching kids through emotional issues. Yeah. And as I dig deeper as an adult, because I'm still on my journey and will always be on my journey, each new thing I learn or each milestone that I, challenge I overcome, then that's something I can help kids with even more.
Yeah, 100%.
So learning about myself, I've learned we could talk all day about that because I've grown so much just from the period of time since I've met you. Yes, business wise, but like I said, the whole mindset piece and really getting to know myself better and really, frankly, stepping into my new identity as I help kids and families step into theirs.
It's such a huge jump. I think everything is seasonal too. And so with business and mindset, how you see yourself now in comparison to when you were a teacher, it's a huge identity expansion. And I always love to remind people, like, as teachers, we're not conditioned to win in teen coaching. We're not conditioned to make money. Like, we're now on multiple six figures a year coaching teens. That's a big deal for school teachers coming in and we're like, I'd be happy with a salary of, let's say, anywhere between 50 to 100K a year,
right?
After tax, if we're lucky. And so heading into business, I'm sure you would have been tested around entrepreneurship. Who are you when you start making more money? So how has business tested you as a person?
I mean, in one way, I've shed a lot of friendships, not in a negative way, but you kind of move into a whole different realm and mindset. So now I was a teacher, assistant principal. I still have like, high regard for all of education. That's really part of my background, but it's not my wheelhouse anymore, really. So there was that. Then there was the whole, like, I'm worth the money. So it's an energy exchange. It isn't about the money, but it's more, the amount of money I made in the hours I worked previously was not in alignment. And now I'm actually working for a reasonable amount of money. I feel like I'm valued, so that was a big shift too, of charging people.
Yeah.
But when I provide so much value, it is worth it. So there was that shift as well.
Yeah.
And then truly just saying I'm a coach. That was hard for a while because I felt like I was betraying myself. But hold on, I wasn't. I was just stepping into that. So
I think I love that perspective too, because we're adding another layer. We're not letting go of the teaching altogether. I think we still teach respectfully in our own right, whether that's through Zoom, on stage, speaking in schools. Teaching is a really special skill set that I don't think a lot of coaches have. They don't know how to teach. You see them in Zoom rooms and you're like, this person can't facilitate just yet. So I still think we still teach. It's just we're adding coaching to the mix, which is really exciting. But of course, there's pros and cons to any world. The grass is never greener. When people jump into coaching, they think their life is going to be solved and everything's going to be easier. One of my favorite topics to talk about is the dark side of the teen coaching space, coaching altogether. What are some things that might have surfaced that were quite challenging, or maybe some things you don't like about the coaching industry that I think people need to be aware of?
I think a lot of it is like everyone's a coach. That was kind of how, and I frankly, before I fully took the plunge, I had a lot of reservations about it because I was like, well, is this real? Is it fake? Are they just overcharging? Because you have all this like this stereotypical like ideas about it. And I was burned by some coaches that, weren't the best, weren't terrible, just wasn't a fit for me. And so then I kind of had questions about it. So it was objections I had to handle with parents because they're like, oh, this is too expensive, or, oh, what is this? Is this therapy? Like, I don't know what it is. So I've gotten really good about understanding truly what I do and communicating that because, I had the same kind of like, who is this person? It looks flashy and nice and they have this great website and everything. And I don't, but I have what it takes to really move a kid forward, 100%. So how do I communicate that to people? Because I'm just this person in a video.
it's so beautiful to witness, because a lot of us, we're just quiet experts in the beginning. No one knows who we are. We weren't here. We didn't start this to become marketers. Let's be completely honest.
No,
I still don't consider myself as a marketer. I don't think you do either. We're just here to share our life, document. So I'd love to tap into that a little bit around, so many people get so fixated on marketing. And sadly, there's a lot of great marketers out there that do get the clients. And so you say to yourself, but this person might not be the right person for this kid. And we are in a trust recession. So naturally parents are not going to trust us. And so when people say to me, Lanita, I don't have the client yet, I said, well, it could be all sorts of reasons. The parent probably doesn't trust you, and so they shouldn't. The fact that you even can think the parent's going to trust you within 5 days, you're kidding yourself. Let's say, as parents, when I think about ever one day handing my son or daughter over to a coach online that has coach in their bio, forget about it. Like, you need to earn that. So totally. I guess this leads to the pro bono lane, because so many people, including yourself, were dancing in the, should I give things out for free? I don't maybe want to coach for free, but then, you started, of course, mastering that lane. Talk me through what you do for free for parents on the front end to build a lot of trust.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much give everything for free. So, I mean, like every worksheet that I might use with a kid, or questions I might ask them, or strategies, frameworks, anything like that. I have plenty of videos on YouTube that offer, suggestions to parents, tips, things like that, as well as free sessions. So, I mean, I'll coach your child for free, and frankly, that builds a lot of trust, and I really get to know them. And a lot of times parents are hesitant, kids are hesitant. They think, oh, something's wrong with me. And I have to explain that this, nothing is wrong with you. It's just, you're at this place right here, and we want to get you to this place right here. How, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? How can I support you through that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to do a lot for free, because I know that families need it, and I want to give back regardless. I provide value to whomever, is in alignment with me.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's it's a delicate dance between being mindful of what your intentions are. And it's very obvious. I don't lie about it. I'm here to get clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important for all of us in teen coaching to set that tone, but in a way that also protects us. Like, we're not just going to sign up a parent because they're a parent. There are a lot of parents that don't fit our world, respectfully, because they're not fully invested in their child's development, because they've gotten away with it before. Like, as a former teacher, how many parents just drop their kids off at school? See you later. It's on the teacher. You meet them once a year, parent-teacher interview, and then they put so much pressure on you to solve everything.
Right.
And so obviously this would lead to naturally standards you set in your teen coaching. I know I have a set of standards, values, non-negotiables when parents come to me. Talk me through what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean, parents working on themselves, so, I have parents, we just went to Tony Robbins, or I'm working with my coach on, this sport as well as mindset, or I have a business coach, or my other child has a coach, or, so if parents are doing and some parents are actually just seeing me as well. So whether it's me or it's, they have their own thing going, it's the fact that, like, it's not, here's my kid, fix them. Yep. So yeah, I might just see your daughter or son, but then you're doing your work in the background, and then we're communicating through, messaging or getting on calls, and then determining as a family where we're going. So it's like, I'm their, like, sidekick, right-hand man, whatever you want to call it, wingman, just because, and frankly, like, the exact same words could come out of mom's mouth, but then they come out of my mouth and there's a different response. So it's just that different relationship and that little bit of separation too.
Yep. I think it's something that we need to, we always we laugh about it, but we warn the mums. Mum, I'm going to say the same thing you've been telling your kid for so many years, but somehow it's going to land when it comes out of my mouth. So don't take it personal. It's just kids are not conditioned to bump heads with their parents, right? So I think it's important for us on a values level to connect really well to parents. I personally, if I'm not vibing with mum and dad, usually 9 times out of 10, we will struggle with the kid. And so what are you learning with the parents, and who do you tend to attract from a parenting point of view?
Like, one, somebody I would hang out and have lunch with, let's say. I
love it.
But, two, if they like certain I'm very active, or I like art, or, nature, whatever it might be, the people that are very similar to myself in certain ways, as well as people that, are open to, like, actually receiving the support, because a lot of it is like, maybe you rock climb and I rock climb, but there's no way you would ever ask me to support your child because you couldn't possibly need help. So overarchingly, it's the being able to ask for help, but then there's also the other parts of your life, you travel, I travel, this, so there's that connection as well.
For sure. I think with the way we do it anyways, we're very, I wouldn't say maybe the word is unconventional, but we're very natural. Especially the more you hang out in TCA, you realize you go from this very rigid, look at me, I'm a very polished professional teacher, ticking the boxes, following the rules, to then coming to social media. And it takes people a while to really just let their hair down. Like, show me who you are as a person. Imagine we're just hanging out over a cup of coffee and we're talking a little bit of smack. How are you as a person outside of your career? Because we wear masks. And so one thing you do very well is you're very natural with online branding. You show your lifestyle. You're very natural on live camera. When you rock up to Zoom, it's like there's not much preparation, to be fair. You're there to be present with the parents. Was that always the case with social media, or did you have a bit of resistance crossing over?
Yeah, huge resistance, because I didn't have social media. I didn't like social media. I was really against social media. And now I am, go on a couple, twice a day and that's it kind of thing. I'm not consuming social media, I'm creating. So I see it, I kind of had to take that mindset shift of, well, I'm creating this. So whether anyone hires me or not, I'm putting out positivity on the internet. So some parent, some teen is going to learn something from what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
So that was like my underlying. And I looked at some old posts, you know, they pop up, and I was like, I posted a quote or something like that, where now it's like, yes, would I like to have my makeup done and look nice on camera every time? Yes, sure. But if I'm working out and there's inspiration, I'm posting a video because I wanted to share what came into my head, and I would rather share that with people than worry so much about what I look like. And frankly, like, yeah, being in that box of a principal and having to act a certain way, say a certain thing, do a certain thing, that didn't work for me either. I didn't like the person I was becoming. So how can I, you know, really run a business that's truly where I can truly be myself? So every mom out there is having a job, but then is also working out too. So that's normal and that's okay.
And that's where we meet our people, right? Like most of the times when you're looking at the kids or the parents, both, they're aligned on a values level. They train, they're believers, right? They value family connections, family dinners, travel. So a lot of the time too, when teen coaches come across us, sadly, a lot of them are just not happy with their business, not because they're not getting clients, they just don't like the people they're working with. They don't like the kids, for lack of better terms, because there's no standards or boundaries in place. They're working with kids that need motivation. We've spoken about this a lot. Motivation is not a problem I choose to deal with teenagers and parents. If you're coming in with a lack of motivation, sure, you might need some accountability and drive, but for the most part, that's already in gear. So what are problems that you just choose not to deal with parents coming in?
I mean, I don't like the phrase like, I will empower you, because I just feel like that's so untrue. Like, you have to empower yourself. So you have to be ready to have a coach that's going to support you. Like I lead sessions often, you know, of course, like if the teen comes to me and they're like, oh, everything's really been good this week, I don't have a major problem going on. And then I'll offer some different types of emotional intelligence lessons, and we'll talk strategies and things like that. But ultimately, like, I want them to come to me with, it could be a concern or a problem, or, you know, I was working with values with most of my kids for the last couple of weeks and doing some exercises, and then they're asking for more. You know, I want to do this with it. I want to learn how to manifest. I want to, you know, so that's the kind of client I'm looking for, not the like, I can't get out of bed, I won't go to school. And there is that aspect, and I have kids like that, but they're at a different place, but they're still open to the coaching.
100%.
You know, so
yeah, I feel like as well in our world we're really big on qualifying our parents and our teenagers. Like, we want them to work for it too. Sales becomes easy when you're putting in boundaries, like, show me some element of drive because I'll fight for you. But if you're not showing me some element of coachability or wanting to be coached, then that's okay too. You're just not a fit in our world. And I think a lot of teen coaches are so scared to put that boundary in place because they don't want to lose a client. But when you do that, you just open up room for people to come in and meet you with, you know, the standards you're setting. So I love the standards. I love the boundaries. Of course, teenagers, they're a lot of high performers or wanting to be. What are some standouts, some kids? Who stands out to you right now in the coaching practice?
I mean, I have kids that I've had for ages, and I can't even recognize them anymore. It's very interesting. So, you know, say for example, coming to me with problems about social media and excuse me, you know, communicating with people that may have been real or may have not been real online, and just being in like this really dark place and not wanting to go to school, and to then now like planning their college and, you know, having a 4.0. And I don't say this because it was me that did this, but I can say the family and myself guided this teen to, you know, really step into who they are supposed to be. Amazing. Or, you know, teens that come to me for one thing, then they might kind of be like, oh, and then they come back again for something different. And so I have a lot of really young kids too that I didn't expect to as well, that are head and shoulders above some adults that I know. So I was kind of like, do I take elementary level? I don't know. And I have a few, and it's very effective. So there's a lot of success stories. I think
it's beautiful too. People also, there's, you know, we all come with stories. And so when someone says teen coach, oh, but Lanita, I don't only coach teens. I'm like, do you coach parents? And so you can coach the parents. Or what about if they're preteens? Well, they're on their way to teens.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you want to catch them a little bit earlier? Like as long as you're actually wanting to serve this person,
Mhm.
and even if they're not a parent, they were a teen once. When you're coaching an adult, you're coaching their inner child. When you really think about it,
Mhm.
so people come in and they're just so fixated on the niche, the age bracket,
Mm.
or what if they're in their 20s? Well, they're asking for help, aren't they?
Mhm.
You can coach them. And so a lot of people look to teen coaching thinking, oh, it's not that niche, or I don't help with academics, or I don't help with college prep. But as life coaches, we can flex.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
one-to-one model. I'd love to touch on that because so many
Yeah.
people fight one-to-one. They want to
Mhm.
scale to the moon. One-to-one's not scalable because the way they build it, of course.
Mhm.
What does one-to-one look like in your world right now? Because that's, of course, something you're
Yeah,
playing with
I
and
mean,
you're mastering.
I just really love the intimacy of it. Like I can, for some weeks, most of my kids will do the same lesson. And I'm like, oh, should I do group? Because we're doing the same lesson.
Yeah.
But frankly, like it's tweaked for every kid. It's individualized. And then there's other weeks where, everybody has a different problem and we're doing different things. But I can really, in that amount of time, just really remove that resistance. A group is great. A classroom is great, but a sports team is great, but they have all of that already. What 100%. They really need is that individualized support. And, would I maybe do groups at some point? I don't know, maybe. But right now, for me, that's the most valuable thing. And frankly, like I have a lot of parents jump on the call with their kids, and because there's something else has come up, and that's even a nice situation. You wouldn't be able to do that in a group.
Yep.
So it's really giving families what they really need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're spot on when you said it. Like the teenagers are already in so many groups. The ideal fits in our world that we're looking for. We're looking for the elite athletes. We're looking for the kids that already have tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for the kids that are in social clubs and hanging out with their friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're the kids that do really well in our world, or the ones that want that and they crave that. Then they'll appreciate our support with jumping into those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So they already have groups. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, you mention it. You can still have groups. You can have a hybrid model, which a lot of our teen coaches do.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't neglect the one-to-one, because especially as you're first starting out, you notice it was easier to get one-to-ones in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're charging high ticket. It's great for cash flow. This is where you get tested in how much to charge.
Mm-hmm.
So talk me through just in terms of your own mindset around charging. Doesn't matter what you charge, but how did you wrap your head around, I'm going to charge parents. I'm going to go directly to parents and I'm going to charge for my services.
Yeah. I mean, it took a long time. It went from like I was saying earlier, like working a lot of hours and not making a lot of money. And then I went to I was getting charged certain amounts for coaches that coached me. So then as soon as I met you and, after a few months or so, I had really high prices and wasn't getting any traction, and also, was still doing my job and all this. And then finally I did the free sessions, gave some pro bono sessions. So I was able to get a little bit more practice in with coaching, a little bit more trust built with families. And then I kind of found the sweet spot of what would work for families. So yes, I still want to charge a certain amount of money because I'm providing a service and I'm providing value, but I'm also cognizant of where parents are at and what makes sense for most families. So it was a little bit of trial and error, I guess. And now it feels pretty good.
Finding a sweet spot.
where it's at.
It's funny too, Carla, because we're not that expensive. We perceived value, of course, that's what we do. We play on that in marketing, respectfully. But when we really break it down, it's all about the language and the packaging and making it easy for parents to join us. It's actually not that expensive. Parents will pay more on a Taylor Swift ticket. Oh, yeah. or if their kids are in sports and the equipment needed for sports or travel, parents have money. And I think the biggest limitation a lot of teen coaches have, the story that we all come in with, is parents are not going to pay. Single mums don't have the money. And you've heard me say this. I was raised by a single mum. Mum made it work. If it wasn't mum, it was our grandparents or our aunties and uncles. Families can make it work given they see the value. So was there ever a time in your sales experience where you helped parents get resourceful? What did that look like at that time?
Yeah. I mean, I have single moms. I have, I have young adults, 21, 22, and I offer them, packages that they can afford, because I understand that they have like they've just graduated high school and have a different situation. So I might, you know, they might not have as much proximity to me, but I still make something affordable for them. So I definitely am very cognizant of that. And, helping them to be resourceful. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was resourceful with you and figured out how I can make my life work, have a coach, leave my career and do all this. So if I can figure it out, other people can figure it out too. It's just, they have to want it enough.
100%.
You know? So,
and 100%. I feel like sales becomes very simple in our world. So I think you've stripped back heaps. We laugh about it in terms of what you have and don't have right now in your model. You know, the website, the marketing. We have a lot of people that come now, especially now in TCA world, where, you know, they come from the bro scalers marketing world, the ClickFunnels, the Frank Kerns, all those big names. They've got all the assets, but they have 0 clients. And so talk me through how simple and fun your model is. What are you using and how are you connecting with parents?
YouTube and Facebook, really, and Instagram, because but I have a website, but it's kind of like a landing page, and I pretty much created all of it myself. So nothing super professional. I did the best I could with, you know, headshots that I got. And I mean, I feel like that's why I encourage parents to speak with me on a call. It's not because I'm trying to sell them something. Do I want them to work with me if we're a fit? Absolutely. I want to help their family. But I feel like they need to get to know me a little bit. So yes, you know, the videos are great, and that's one way. But if you can't meet me in person, like that's the best way to kind of like see how we vibe. And but no, I don't have a lot of frills whatsoever.
And that has a place. Like there comes a place in your business where reinvesting the profits and scaling up and polishing up your marketing 100%. It just, everything happens. There's a sequence matters. And I think a lot of people start there and realize the clients are not coming in. It's because 1, the parents don't trust you. 2, we're not really getting in front of them. And 3, I love the Facebook organic world. You know how I personally play. A lot of the sales experience usually happens off the back of being on the receiving end of how I do sales. So what did you, I guess back then, we're talking maybe 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when you first came on a call, what was a standout in the onboarding experience with TCA?
Well, it's funny because recently I looked back at our messages from
like
from a while back. And so I had no idea like what a virtual assistant was or that, you know, I mean, I assumed I was just talking to you, and, you know, I was kind of like hesitant. Do I join a program? Do I not? And it was very like chill, for lack of a better term. You know, it's just kind of like nonchalant, like, hey, I just want to help you. Hey, do you want to talk to me? Here's a video, you know, we just kind of like, it was in flow. And that's kind of how I handle it too. I mean, would you like to join my Facebook group? Sure. I want you to join my Facebook group because I'm offering tips, I'm offering strategies, I'm offering things for you as a parent, and you can get to know me a little bit. And then you make the decision. I'm not pressuring anyone, you know?
Sure.
So, but yeah, get to know me.
I think the biggest, you know, in terms of metrics we measure, the lost opportunity for a lot of people is the DMs. And I think especially, remember, we're educators. We're not conditioned to go on social, master the DMs, get parents on sales calls, but that is our model. Whether it's Facebook or Instagram, we're in the DMs, and so many people don't touch DMs because they're scared. They freak out. I know I used to be like that in the beginning until like, what are my family and friends going to say? I've turned my Facebook now into a business platform. Talk me through the contrast between like Carla day one in DMs and Carla now in DMs. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to say. Like, you know, you have helped me and you were like, you should say this, you should say that. And that's great. But it was like, I had to literally like cut and paste what I was going to say. And I was very nervous about it. It was like fish out of water. And now like I'm having full conversations to an extent, and really, again, just, you know, like if it's in alignment, let's get together, you know, leaving voice notes. I have parents leave me voice notes back, and we're kind of just like getting to know one another. So it's like a little bit of like just like meetings people.
And
it's
it really
is
chill. Like I think in terms of, our platform, it really feels so natural. You're talking to mums most of the time. Dads totally would welcome the men, but usually our buyers or the first point of contact are mums. And we hang out on Facebook. We talk back and forth. We don't friend zone them, obviously, right? You're there as an authority.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is, let's jump on a consult and see and get a fit. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate the model because they want to look so polished online. And so Facebook and the DMs, and now you're playing on Instagram as well. So do you find that there's anything that you feel at this stage in your business model, what are you most looking forward to in this next season heading into your business?
Good question. I would like to help more families. That's one thing for sure. As far as my lifestyle it's great. I have, the amount of time I need to focus on my families as well as to like recharge for myself. That's amazing. I mean, potentially having training kids to do coaching, so that would be like another realm of something that maybe coming up soon to have some sort of ambassadors, so maybe more leadership versus so I have kids that I've worked with for quite some time now, months and years, and they've learned a lot, and would they want to share that with other kids? So yeah. And
naturally, yes, the coaching industry's there, it's arrived. Teen coaching is still a baby niche in comparison to live coaching, and it's a market we've tapped into now. So naturally, as kids grow up, of course, it's like us, well, we want to become a life coach, now we call it teen coaching, and so that's a really exciting part. I mentioned on a consulting call, maybe it was this week or last week, that you really are living in your dream. Your lifestyle, what it looks like now, is so different to when you were a teacher. Paint the picture a little bit on how you actually live your life now.
Yeah, I mean, I have my clients a few days a week. I have parent calls. I, go and do my back end things on, my computer, and that's my level of like my work. And then the rest of my life is taking care of myself. Like I'm traveling, I'm, working out, I'm in nature, I'm doing all those things. So I've really flipped the script and like prioritized myself and my lifestyle. And I kind of stepped away from like my job is my identity.
Yeah.
So I see myself as a coach, but I see myself as like a human, as a woman, as a person first, and really have to take care of myself so that I can take care of my families.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of times with moms, we talk about that too, because if it's hard enough for me to take care of myself without having kids, like imagine how hard it is for you to prioritize yourself. So I hope that I can inspire moms to, even if it's take a half hour a week to do something for themselves, but I'm able to really live the lifestyle. I can travel anywhere. I'm traveling right now, but I'm still seeing all my clients.
It is a real luxury, and I think naturally anything worthwhile does take time, and we're on a 18 to 24 month timeline at the moment. You're on a 6-figure run rate, and so it took time. I think a lot of people, you see the 6-figure gurus online, the 100K months, and that all has a great place and it's all very attainable. However, the reality is it does take time, especially if you're exiting a teaching role like how you did it. You played it very appropriately. And so I guess, what does it mean to you now, knowing like now you've left teaching, you've got this sacred lifestyle, you're traveling, you have a remote business now. What does that mean to you?
Like everything. I mean, that's like I create my own reality, and this is what I wanted, and I created it because I wanted the flexibility, I wanted the freedom. That's very important to me, and I'm like proud of myself for doing that. So it wasn't like an easy feat. It wasn't like it, but I don't know, like you just kept chipping away at it, like it's gonna happen. I just kept like doing the things every single day, because it was so important to me. Like that my old lifestyle just didn't fit me anymore. I didn't like who I was becoming. It wasn't for me, and this is what I really knew I wanted, and I just went for it.
It's beautiful to witness because, obviously I think working closely, it's been a 2-year journey, and so I've seen so much of you. You've seen so much of me. Oh goodness me! Anytime we tweak things, you're like, Lanita's on in this new season now. Things are moving. So likewise with you, I've witnessed such a great emotional journey that you've gone through, all the highs and lows. There was a time not long ago, I would say probably about 6 or 9 months ago, bit of a drought. Things were a bit hard. How do you handle yourself in those moments? Because one, I just want to commend you because not many people could handle that dip. How did you get yourself out of that drought or that dip when it came to, business was just not working at that point?
Yeah, I feel like not only my daily routine. I mean, that's part of it. It's just like trying your best to stay as high vibe as you can be with, you're working out and you're doing your affirmations and but I'm basically coaching myself on a daily basis is what it comes down to. So yeah, I had a great month. I got plenty of new clients. I made, a decent amount of money this month. And then the next month could be like, oh no. So there's those ups and downs, and it's not easy to handle. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I'm a coach, so I just handled it and it was fine. No, it was hard. But with that being said, I coach myself. I would reach out to you, or I would literally go through my notes of what I do with my kids and do those things for myself. Yeah. And I really, ultimately, it was all about like just having faith in the process, and that the path was laid out for me. Like, it's going to work out. Again, it's not going to be a straight line, but like each time there was a dip, it wasn't as low as the dip I had previously. Yeah. And that was like a relief, because I had to kind of go back and look and like, oh, look how far I've made it, because a lot of times I don't want to look back. I don't want to like sit in, the past, but sometimes you have to look back to see how far you've made it into 100%. The future. So yeah.
It's so true. We coach kids and parents and teens on what we need. And I think so many people think they're embarrassed to put their hand up and ask for help. I have a therapist, I feel like everyone in our market, I'm mindful when I say the word should, right? We don't want to should on each other, but I think would benefit from having a coach, whether that's a life coach, a business coach, a therapist, ideally all three, to be completely fair, because we are carrying parents and teenagers, and we have our own stuff to work through, insecurities and wounds. What we do, you and I, that are really good at, especially with our top performers in TCA, is they share that emotional journey with their audience, because it actually gives us a lot of not only authority. Parents resonate with us because they're seeing their kids in us, or they're seeing themselves in us. Take me through maybe a couple of what's been a really top performing post that kind of got a bit of traction on Facebook or Instagram for you?
Oh, good question.
Because I have a feeling it wasn't about teen coaching, right?
Yeah. So like currently the posts that get the most, I guess, traction or responses have to do with my personal life versus coaching. Right. So if I'm telling you these are 3 steps to have a more gratitude within your family or something like that, people might put a thumbs up or whatever, and that's fine. But like, they could also just research that on the internet. 100%. And that doesn't mean I don't share those things, because I still think it's very important, of course. Yeah. But it will be something about like, I've had a new milestone in my life and got trained in something, and then people are so excited for me, or I'm traveling, or frankly, the way I look, like if I change my hair, or who I'm dating, or, like whatever is happening in my life. That's the stuff that people are very excited about, because it's human connection. So frankly, I could probably never say I'm a teen coach again and get some clients, because like I post pictures of like what's happening in my regular life, which is great, but it's also like, oh, I put a lot of work in and no one wants to see the other
the reality is parents buy people. As much as people are going to fight the model works. And so we have, remember back, very private school teacher, no one can find us on Facebook. We go through that emotional hurdle of getting over ourselves, in terms of parents want to know who they're handing their baby over to. So you either learn the game or you're going to get left behind, because in today's society, that's what works. Maybe back in the day, you could easily put an ad out and a parent would book a call. Us as teen coaches also question that too. I don't want some random teacher. I don't feel safe with a random on Zoom, like just for our own sake. And I think once we start talking about that as teen coaches, I'm like, guys, we're here to protect us too. Like, I know you want the client, but is this the parent that you want in your world? Because remember, the dark side of coaching is there's some really unsafe adults in the space. And so for us, we also want to protect our own selves too. And that's why I slow down sales. That's why pro bono works. It's to protect us. Have there ever been times where you've said no to a parent or a
absolutely.
teen? Absolutely. Tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if the energy isn't there, if I feel, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but it's just like, if they're not like a parent that's open and holding space for their children and supporting them and concerned with their growth, and they're not just, like if they're only worried about the outcome, but they're not worried about the process, or, you know, maybe they're just like not listening to me. Like we're on the call and they're just kind of like cutting me off, or, you know, there's just
undermine you.
Yeah, something just isn't right. And so, yes, it's a gut instinct, but it's also like, this is my sacred space. Like I've created this. Like to me, it's an art. Like I have all my tools in my toolbox of what I use as a person coaching teens and families. And I know what to use at what time. So I prep for my calls, but then I also might throw all that out the window, just like when you prep for a lesson as a teacher and then the kids want to do, like, they're not having it, you know? So it's just not working. And so you got to like figure it out and do something different. So same thing with certain families that are not bad people, or we're just not in alignment. Maybe there's somebody else that's better for them, or maybe coaching isn't for them, or maybe they're not ready, you know? So there's any of those things. But yeah, that's my sacred space. So when I'm on my calls on my certain days, like I'm excited to speak to this child and this parent and this person, because these are my people. And they're like, you know, they're my people.
And it really is like, I just love how it's so light and it's fun. And I'm sure there's some times where it is challenging, but I always love to paint the contrast between the marking world of teaching, the paperwork, taking work home, the worksheets and all the exams. And then you cross over to the coaching space. A common mistake most teachers make when they come into coaching is they bring that habit over, the marking technique or the skill set or the hours of preparation for coaching sessions. Like I'm sure you would have had that in the beginning, but I don't think that's the case now for you. Talk us through preparation time and what paperwork looks like in your world now.
So I think like a lot of it may seem like, oh, you don't work that many hours, but the time that I take, let's say, for example, on a Friday where I'm meditating for like a few hours, or I'm in nature walking, or I'm going swimming, or whatever it might be, that time is my time, of course, but also that's where I get ideas. That's where I think, oh, how can I help so-and-so, or this teen, or, oh, I want to do this new kind of framework. Or so that's like the creative piece. Like I need that space to help create things or that are going to help my families, versus taking that time, what I would have in the past, and being like correcting an essay. So there's nothing wrong with correcting an essay, but it's just not where I want to put my energy. So I'm effectively like kind of always working on my business inadvertently. Though I do, you know, I'm taking breaks, but you know, you hear something on you're listening to a podcast with someone else or YouTube, and then you hear that, you're like, oh, I'm going to use that quote for my kids. And then we bounce off of that, and we have a whole like discussion about it. So my preparation is more in that zone versus the like, let me read every psychology book that there is out there. Though I have that background as well. That's not, you know, what I'm doing on a daily basis.
I think too, at this stage as well, you know, putting in the reps with coaching clients, it has a place, and pro bono helps a lot with that. I think you trust yourself a lot to flex now. You know, in the beginning, joining practitioner, doing the certification, getting the workbooks certainly had a place, and it helps. Until this day, you go back and you work through the, you know, if necessary. But you do strike me as a coach now where you don't follow the workbooks, you trust yourself to coach. Run me through the coaching sessions with the kids, like with teenagers, young girls, young boys. What are you finding has been a consistent theme now with coaching sessions?
Well, one, the way I set it up is like always start with wins. If there's a challenge, we work on the challenge. If there isn't a challenge, like you're saying, like I have, you know, all of the things kind of memorized, this tool, that tool, continue to read different books that have nothing to do with coaching, that you'll find things in that help kids, you know, in different ways. And what's been coming up, I mean, I already spoke to the values piece. They really enjoyed, you know, digging into their values. They start a lot of times with me surface, you know, we talk about grades and we talk about like, hey, how are you going to focus more in school?
Surface level. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And that's great. And I think because they know I was a teacher, then they think they have to talk about that. And that's fine. Cause that has its place, because we still want them to achieve, of course.
Of course.
But then they really enjoy like learning different things about themselves, whether it be like, I'll do like love languages with them.
Yeah,
so
good.
Love languages. And then they do it with their whole family. And then, you know, we talk about, you know, how would you interact with a stranger, and you know, whatever the questions are that we go through, but then they just love learning about themselves. So the tools could be tools that, you know, but it's just, when do you use them? Who do you use them with? Who's ready for this tool and not ready for this? And how do I tweak it? I might use something, the same thing with a 19-year-old that I do with an 11-year-old, but it's going to be completely, scaffolded differently.
Of course, tweaked and customized, even with the parent. I always, I guess, laugh about it, but please, like when we're talking to parents, don't rob your son or daughter of the opportunity to access these resources. And I find sometimes it's the parents that get in the way, or we can't afford it, or let me ask, this is my favorite one, let me ask my teen. I'm sorry, do you ask your teenager if you want them to go to school or not? Do you ask your child for permission? No, of course not. Respectfully, you're the parent. You put your parent pants on and you say, well, you're going to go to school. And I think a lot of teen coaches are scared to touch that frame. I think that's certainly based on culture. My coaching style is heavily built on my cultural upbringing and values and belief systems. So when parents tell me I need to double check with my child, a part of me is like, be patient, Lanita, respect the frame. But at the same time, I feel like I need to also help empower the parent to be like, but you're the parent, like don't rob your child of this opportunity, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to your child and what are they going to say? They're going to say no, because you haven't sold coaching the way it should be sold, and they haven't met us. Right away. Talk me through when a teen meets you right away. Once they're in the room with you.
Like, and frankly, like, it might sound like I have an ego about it or something, but I literally say to parents, like, there's no way that they're not going to get along with me. Like, it's just like, they're going to, whether they want to continue or they, I don't know, they could still have like, I don't have enough time or whatever they have, but like, they literally like, they enjoy it. They like it. They have that person that they can talk to. They eat it up because they feel heard. Yeah. And I listen to them. And it's not that parents don't, it's just different. Yep. And they can really like communicate their true self, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and they're not being judged. And I think the non-judgmental piece is huge. I mean, if they're getting poor grades, I'm not going to be upset with them. I'm not going to say that that's a good thing, but we're going to figure out I'm not going to yell at them and it's going to be more of like, all right, well, we've got to stop this. This isn't going to continue. How are we going to shift this? But yeah, the non-judgmental and just the listening. So for good. Sure.
How are you treated with parents and teens? How do they treat you differently in coaching compared to parents and teens in the school system?
Yeah. Because as an assistant principal, it was a lot of consequences. Yeah. And I really had to follow a matrix and give a consequence. And I did. That was my job. That's the model. And I also had to, in certain situations, like swallow what I really wanted to say, because the consequence didn't fit the crime per se, or I knew what was really going on. And I knew 9 times out of 10, a consequence wasn't going to help the situation or fix or support the kid in any way. So you give the consequence and then I probably didn't see them again, or they came back to my office for the same thing. Yeah. So that's breed this whole idea of coaching.
Of course, 100%. I think it's, once again, it's teacher cap comes on. At some point you put your coach cap. At other points you put your sisterhood cap. You've heard me say this a lot. I'm just going to put my sisterhood cap at the moment and kind of tell you the hard, like, I'm mindful of saying the harsh truths rather than comforting lies, but are there things that have come up in your sessions where you just literally had to put on the sisterhood cap and say, look, I just need to tell you a bit of the truth right now? Yeah. And what were what would stand out? What were some things?
It's kind of like, are you going to be honest with yourself about this and honest with me about this? So I don't think that the kids are inadvertently lying to me, but a lot of times I'll get, I don't know, as a response, or I'll get, yeah, everything's great. So it's not because they're trying to create some other story. It's more of like helping them break down that wall of like, it's okay to be vulnerable in this space. Because it could be like they maybe don't want to share that they're afraid of this or made a poor decision or messed up something, but then they realize like it's not going to be a judgment. It's just like, all right, if you didn't like the way that you made this decision or how this went, like, what can we do next time?
I think so too, because teenagers, I think people in general growing up, but teenagers especially, they're often hurt in environments where they should feel the safest. Home. We've heard a lot of stories of kids being abused in their homes. Schools. We've heard a lot of terrible stories of teachers hurting children. Church. We've heard the stories of priests, community groups. And so where kids should feel the safest is where they often get hurt the most. So when they're coming to us, they've probably been burnt before, you know, and so they're not naturally going to open up to us right away because mum and dad hired us as a teen coach. So naturally it's going to take time. And you've heard me say this before, getting families in for long-term, seed, 12 months, 24-month journey. Yes, you start on 12 weeks, the traditional coaching route, maybe a 6-week offer. But that child is not going to open up in the first month. You're lucky. You're like, unless they really trust you and you've really earned it, it'll take a few weeks to really get to know the actual story. So was there ever a time where mum or dad hired you for one thing and then something else came out of that?
Pretty much every time.
I love it.
I mean, every single time.
I'm not even surprised.
Yeah. I mean, certain, you know, families that I've worked with over time and had both of their kids. And we really, you know, as I got to know their kids, they knew their kids and we knew exactly what we're working on.
Yeah.
You know, and then that evolves. And then there's other situations where it's just like, yeah, you typically come to me for like poor grades or anxiety or like ADHD.
Yeah.
And like,
It's
no,
just a title.
it's something completely different.
Yeah.
It's relationships, or it's the relationship with parents and
I was going to say,
kids.
how many times were you a marriage coach?
Yeah. So a lot of times and a lot of times, you know, it's the kids just opening up about their parents, and it's not a session where they're just bashing their parents, but it's how they feel about the relationship. And parents, it's difficult because they're in charge, but can you listen to them?
I think one thing I'm really proud of, especially with the depth of character with our members inside the academy, I guess naturally has happened over time, but I think it's testament to our character and how we lead with values, is our teen coaches are willing to dive into other topics. Like we talk about body image, we talk about relationships, we talk about drugs and sex and all this other bullying, peer pressure, but from a personal lens, you know, and we share our stories and our troubles and tribulations, right? And so I find that naturally now teen coaching is less about let me coach your child to help with confidence and motivation. It's now let's actually work through what's really going on in the family. And so we want to work close with families. We want to know dad, we want to know mum. And if mum and dad are not on the same page, we already know that creates tension for us. So we actually don't go ahead sometimes with the coaching. So do you feel like there's things now you work on with families that maybe not so much in the beginning as a result of, I guess, being in our world? What are those themes?
Yeah. You know, so like you said, you know, I'd lead with like resiliency and habits and routines and all of those things. A lot of it was time management when I first started, you know, like these things that kind of came from teaching in a way.
Tick the criteria.
For sure. And now, you know, whether it's like, I mean, some of it can be like, I did interviewing skills with a girl the other day, which isn't super deep, but she was like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. But it's a lot of like, how do I talk to this about my mom about this thing, we've been fighting about it, or, you know, like deeper issues with like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And like, are these the people you want in your life? Like, are they supporting you? Am I doing this to be popular? So, they're teen issues, but then they're really like, the whole point is we want to nip these issues and help you find the tools to handle them, because then when you're in a career and you have a boss and you're on a team, you've already handled that.
100%. I think it's incredibly rewarding for us, because we know once they're in your world, given it's in alignment and you trust yourself, I always say it to everyone in TCA, help them with that. There's mums that are freaking out because their daughters are having unprotected sex. And then what they do, they go into the Facebook community groups and post about their child when their daughter's face is on these parents' profiles. So what do? We click the profile, we see her child all over Facebook on the profile, and you've just told a group of 10,000 plus mums that your daughter is having unprotected sex, and this is the contraceptive pill she's using. One, you're putting your daughter in a very unsafe environment already. Two, you're going to the wrong platform, in my opinion. You're venting in a Facebook group. And so that's why we come back to our way of doing things, is friending parents online, talking to them privately in the DMs to protect their children, and two, get them out of Facebook. Venting in groups is not going to work. How many groups have you seen where parents are just venting? So we bring them out and we jump on consults. But these teenagers, boys and girls, mental health doesn't discriminate. A lot of them are actually top performing. A lot of them come from parents who have money or in private schools. They're reaching the A grades and all that good stuff. So yeah, have you noticed you're actually helping a lot of families that actually have a lot going for themselves, but are still dealing with the same problems?
Yeah, because like on the outside, they have like a nice house, cars, they have good jobs, and their kids are getting good grades, and they're actually thriving as a family. And there's a lot of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, potentially parents pressuring their kids, potentially kids just pressuring themselves and not knowing how to like navigate that. And when I was an assistant principal, I started the yoga class in my school, and none of the high achievers wanted to take it because it didn't give them enough points on their GPA, so it's like you're trying to implement things, and now it happens today. I'm like, hey, let's do some breath work. I'm going to share breath, so if you're in a situation or prior to being in that situation, let's be proactive and like, get in our body and do breath work. And the high achievers are like, but we were just talking about test prep. I'm like, so it's a shift.
One thing I'm really excited about is the industry has arrived. That is it. It is here, right? You see these videos on Instagram with the morning routines. You've seen that guy in Miami with the glass bottle. He drinks like sparkling or whatever, fancy water every morning. That goes viral. The guy is killing it on social. But you've got people like him. You've got like the Iman Gadzis of the world. These kids are already following influencers that value mental health, morning routines, run clubs. The industry is here. We don't actually have to convince parents. We shouldn't ever have to convince parents. But these teenagers are here. They're wanting, and I personally think they're well ahead than maybe when you and I were in school, because we weren't talking about anxiety. I don't even remember dropping that word in school. I was an anxious teen, but I didn't. Looking back now, I know I was anxious, but I didn't title it as anxiety. So I think the kids now, they're ahead. They know what's going on. They're searching for help in other ways. What are you learning about, I guess, from the boys you support? What's the language? What's the lingo? What are they coming to you and actually asking you for?
Yeah, a lot of them want to be entrepreneurs and move to Miami from wherever, and so then it's like, okay, what's that going to look like? And then do you want to start a lawn business? No, I don't want to do that. Okay, well, how are you going to practice being an entrepreneur? So there's that side of it. I want the nice car and all that. But then there's I listened to David Goggins, or I read his book, or so they have this access to information that we did not have whatsoever. And to the language and I have another girl, I'm going to start listening to this person's podcast every morning because it helps me. And so they have all of that. But they may not share that with their friends, or they have affirmation sticky notes, but they take them down when their friends come over, that kind of thing. So the boys are very open to it. They just, maybe don't share that with their buddies, but then I've had kids bring their friends to their sessions and their boys. So they want the support, they're open to it, but I feel like that's kind of a win for us because it's not therapy, it's coaching. So if you're a boy that has a coach, that sounds a lot different than your boy that has a therapist. Yeah.
I think one thing that we're starting to, maybe do better at and more of is normalizing having a coach and having a therapist. I think especially as women and young daughters and females looking up to us online and reading our posts, especially on Instagram. I guess that would be the channel where most teenagers would come across you. But I think especially as mums as well, looking at us. Once again, I always say to you guys, like, when mums, for the most part, are watching us on social, that subconscious bias is, do I trust this woman with my child? Do I see my child in her? Do I actually secretly see myself in this teen coach? Like, we're each other's mirror. There are things that you probably saw in me that contributed to buying from TCA, fair to say. And I always love to bring that up because it's true. I'm not the only business coach. Sure, I'm probably only one of very few that does the business of teen coaching. I think a lot of people now, in a very, I guess, a beautiful compliment that they're copying. But I don't think that was the only reason why you bought from TCA or bought from myself. So I guess for marketing reasons that will help with personal branding topic, what was a standout? What did you see in me that you're like, oh, you know what? I actually do want to work with someone like you?
Yeah, I feel like it definitely was the journey. I mean, you were a teacher, I was a teacher. I was like, okay, like there was those parallels of like, you have a mom, you have a, family, you show pictures and, like how your journey went from being a PE teacher and, moving through to what you do now. There was that piece. But then there was also, because at first I'm like, I feel like she's a lot younger than me, like, is this normal? Is this weird? Like I'm reaching out to this person, like I should already know this kind of thing, but I didn't, and that wasn't my zone. And so it took me a minute, but then I was like, you know what, it feels right. It's in alignment. Like everything that I've asked you or presented to you or felt fear about or lack of confidence, I tend to, help get the support and help that I need. But yeah, it was definitely like I don't want to say the vibe, but the vibe, like, this is a person it's the teacher vibe, and that's mine. And, you had faith and you had sports and, so again, just like moms might look at me for the things that I'm doing in my life, I was looking at you for the things that you were doing in your life, and they were in alignment, and it was just like a really sense of like genuineness. I didn't feel like I was being sold. I didn't feel like I was, like it was a real person, so that was very comforting for sure.
It's always a great conversation to have, because, you want to create a buying model for parents to buy in. You don't want to feel like you're selling them. There's a very clear distinction between having a selling model and having a buying model. And so when we lead with personal brand, our story, we're having fun, it's so much easier for parents to buy into that. I want to come and hang out with me on a call instead of book a consult type thing, right? It's a very different language. It's the same thing. We're achieving the same outcome. It's just the way we're framing it. So yeah, similar to how you've come across us, how parents are going to look at you, and you're just having a lot of fun with families, and of course protecting your boundaries along the way too, because there's some misfits, even teachers as well, right? What have you witnessed with teachers today that you kind of feel like, oh, if only you were a coach, maybe you wouldn't do that?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of my teachers in the past are amazing. And those teachers that really like kind of were open to emotional intelligence and did their own work, it was great. And a lot of teachers that wasn't their wheelhouse, and it was like kind of forced upon them in the classroom to implement this thing. And that's why it didn't work, because how could something be done with fidelity if you don't have the background yourself? So I feel like I would, I'm not doing it right now overarchingly, but coaching teachers through how to listen to kids better, how to help them work through problems. And kind of like I spoke to a school recently, and I gave them my coaching questions. So like maybe that's not something you hand out for the whole class, but you have these like questions in your back pocket when a kid comes up to your desk and is struggling with something, and you can help them through their limiting beliefs. So but it's not something that's taught. I never knew it. So I didn't realize what resistance was. You're just teaching science or teaching social studies. Exactly, so I feel as if teachers, as well as adults in any arena, could, use coaching and to help them move themselves forward, but in the classroom to help them move their kids forward.
I think as well, a lot of people throw shade on the school system. I think it's a very easy conversation to have. We know schools are needed. We have incredible educators in this space. The school system's not going to change, and I don't think it should, because people always say, change your system, change your system. The system is built for one particular purpose, and they do very well at it. Create workers to get jobs, follow the system, tick the boxes. They do very well as a system, as business owners that create systems. You want people to follow those systems. So the school system, yes, has limitations. We're not there to replace schools. And I think a lot of people have that common misconception, like we're here to replace parents. Certainly not. We're not here to replace teachers. Teachers still have a place. So people like you and I are just here to fill in the gaps that teachers just don't have time, and they will never have the time for it. I think stop throwing extra work and pressure on their plates. They're not going to be able to handle it, So we just knew better, that we left because it was just never going to change. People keep bashing the system. So I think it's just important for us to recognize that we're here to complement the home, complement the school, fill in the gaps, and definitely not replace the family or anything like that.
And the
Any
system
thoughts
is
on
set
that?
up for academics. So if the kids are achieving, that's what it's set up for.
Yeah.
It's not set up for counseling.
Yep.
So though there are school counselors, they are heavily overworked and have so many kids on their caseload that they can't possibly be effective with the whole population. So there's that aspect of it too, where it's not bashing. It's just, you're putting something more on teachers, and you're putting, how could you possibly put more on a counselor, you know? So that's where we saw the need, you know, to support kids and families.
Carla, it's been actually so good to just hang out and talk. You know, we can talk about anything for so long too, right? And so as a teacher that, you know, crossed over to the teen coaching world, what would you say to a teacher that's either, you know, a teacher, coach, or speaker that's looking to start coaching teenagers and parents? They might already be there, or they're looking to enter the world. What would you, any words of wisdom that you'd want to share with them as they enter the space?
Yeah, just like trust the process, visualize what you want in your life because you're creating it. You know, look to you for support if you're in the specific teen coaching arena in some realm, that you're going to help to support them through that. And frankly, like, be patient. It takes time. Like, everyone has their own timeline. Like, I always want to move faster than I think I should be at a certain place, but like, I'm right where I need to be. If it's hard, I don't want to be here. I want to be at this place, you know? So like, if I'm struggling, no, this isn't the right place, but yes, it is, because now look what I've, you know, so it might be my journey where you do the mindset piece first. You might have already mastered that and you're now needing to tweak your business. I don't know where you're at. But if you know, it's kind of like, see yourself at what you're doing right now and see yourself in this other path, and like, which one is going to be the one that you know, take on and
100%.
Seems right for you, and just, you know, trust it.
I think it's always fun to look at what people are up to and modeling, and, you know, modeling success and the proven path. So for those that are, of course, going to be watching in, tuning in, follow you online, where can they find you on social?
Facebook and Instagram, Dr. Carla Couturier.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
I
and
love
YouTube.
It.
Same, all three.
So good. We're just making moves with teen coaching. Congratulations again on all of your growth. You're such a top performer in TCA. It's an absolute pleasure to be working with you. And I trust this won't be the last time we see each other or have a session like this as well. So kudos for being here. And I look forward to witnessing your continued success as well.
Yeah. And I just want to share my immense gratitude for you. I wouldn't be where I am today without your support. So
amazing.
From the bottom of my heart.
Big love. So good, Carla. So